Today's Morning First Alert Weather Show is brought to you by Sam Bernstein Law.
Happy Wednesday, Mid-Michigan. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro here with your morning First Alert weather show, where we'll be talking more about the forecast and what to expect as we go forward from here. And I will say certainly the big story in the forecast right now is, first of all, the fact that it's actually a pretty quiet forecast going forward from here. So we really don't have too much going on in the extended forecast, at least for this foreseeable future right now. Plenty of dry weather. And even though we've cooled off a bit today, we do eventually have some milder temps returning to our area again by the weekend and going into next week. In fact, by this weekend and next week, temperatures will be the same as what they were yesterday, if not even a little bit warmer too. So as we go through the middle of February, it certainly is looking to be unseasonably warm. First, I do want to just take you outside here real quick to downtown Saginaw. This is live from the Dow. You can just barely kind of see it there on our camera as we look over Johnson Street. Just a couple of flurries that have been falling, certainly very light with any of these flurries. And for today, we have been expecting just a handful of flurries out there in the forecast. We've actually kept it 10% in the forecast to account for this for today, but certainly again, pretty light and pretty isolated with any of that activity. So not expecting anything too major there. Let me take you over to the First Alert hour by hour just to show you this too. You can see here as we fast forward even into the afternoon, just a couple of these stray flurries popping up from time to time, a few of them there in the hour by hour between Whittemore and Ascota. We also have a few flurries near the Bad Axe, Harbor Beach, and Port Hope areas too. So again, pretty small chance for that for today, but certainly not expecting anything impactful or anything heavy out of that. Once we go into tonight, though, we do expect the clouds to try to break up at least a little bit, and then eventually more of a partly to mostly cloudy sky tomorrow. So we should have a few windows from time to time of some sun, and as we go forward towards the weekend, we actually do eventually have more sun coming into the forecast as well. So again, pretty quiet as we go towards the end of this week, and certainly through this upcoming Valentine's weekend too. In fact, really, if you do have any plans for the weekend, we are tracking a pretty easygoing forecast for that. I'll show you the 7-day forecast too, just to kind of round out what I'm talking about here. Certainly, again, looking pretty nice. If you do have weekend plans, maybe you're going out to dinner on Valentine's Day, no concern with the forecast, or perhaps with the roadways, for instance, there, so should be pretty good for Saturday afternoon and evening. And then as we go into next week, take a look at those temperatures. So 42 on Monday, we have 44 on Tuesday, and there is still some chance that we actually end up seeing these temperatures nudging up a few more degrees. And really, that is the big story, especially after today and tomorrow. So you see how we still have a high of 29 today and then a high of 30 for tomorrow. But other than that, very dry forecast. We just have that 10% for the flurries today, and then very dry as we go towards the weekend and as we go at least through Tuesday next week. I will say, too, I am monitoring the Facebook live stream here too, so if you have any comments, be sure to add them in. I want to say good morning to Cherry for tuning in again this morning from Gladwin. Hope you're having a great day so far, and thank you for the report too. A few light flurries in Gladwin. What you're seeing there, really that's about all we're going to have for today as far as any sort of precipitation. Just a few light flurries, but again, pretty easy going with that forecast. But let me show you some temperatures that we have out there right now. So we've definitely cooled off since yesterday. About 10 degrees, even 12 degrees for a few spots compared to yesterday afternoon. Currently seeing 28 in Saginaw, 29 in Flint and in Gladwin. We have 27 in Ascota. And these are the numbers we're pretty much going to stick with for the rest of the daytime here. So our highs by the afternoon, up to about 29 degrees, so temperatures actually stay pretty steady through today. We do have a northwest breeze, though. Some of those gusts are going to be reaching up to about 20 to 25 miles per hour, so bear in mind that the wind today is going to keep wind chills in the 20s all day long, so certainly sticking with the cooler side of things for today, which is definitely a bit of a contrast compared to how conditions were yesterday with some of that warmth. I'll show you Birch Run here too, so let me take you over to I-75 and Birch Run. You can kind of see the camera actually moving around just a little bit too with that breeze. So again, we'll stick with that breeze for today. This is what's keeping that cooler weather around for right now before we end up seeing that warm up a bit later on in the forecast. We'll go ahead and take a quick break real quick though. When we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit more about that warmth, and I also have some statistics to show you for sunset and sunrise too. So some pretty interesting numbers. So we'll talk about that right after the break. All right, welcome back from that break. So looking ahead from here, really the big story again is going to be just the warmer temperatures that we'll have returning to the forecast. Those numbers are going to be pretty similar to what we had yesterday. Now, as for today, again, these highs only up to about 29, maybe 30 degrees. It's pretty much where we're already at right now and have been throughout the morning. So we're just going to essentially just stick with these cooler temps for today, which is about 10 degrees colder than yesterday, but it actually puts us right at average for this time of year. So average is 31, it is 30 for a couple of areas too. So again, pretty much just an average mid-February day with these temperatures. But as we look ahead into next week, the long-range temperature outlook still very clearly points towards a greater chance of above normal temperatures. So that pretty much means above freezing. We've still seen numbers for next week in the 40s, and actually we'll say too, a few models have been trying to point towards the possibility of reaching 50 degrees at some point next week too. So that'll be very interesting to see for next week how these temperatures continue to evolve in our forecast. No doubt it looks warm, especially for this time of year, and this is just as the pattern flips around because we're expecting a ridge to build in next week. So that ridge is what brings in the warmer temperatures. And this is reflected in that 7-day forecast once again. So you see on Monday we have a high of 42. Right now, we even have a high of 44 on Tuesday, but there is still potentially some upward room for adjustment on those temps. If we hit 50, that could possibly be on Wednesday of next week too. But also Wednesday next week could sort of be the nexus of when we see our next round of rainfall, in fact, moving through, because we do expect a system to move across the Great Lakes right around that time. I'll go ahead and take you to the hour by hour. Let me fast forward this over into next week. You see Monday, Tuesday, all still very dry. Here we are going into Wednesday. This system's starting to shape up. Kind of like earlier this week on Monday, a lot of those snow showers are staying into the upper peninsula, but you see how it's trying to point towards some rain into the lower peninsula, especially here towards the TV5 area. There is some possibility that that fills in a little bit better than that too, but given the warmth that we're going to have next week, as the system comes in around Wednesday, more than likely should just be rainfall for our area. So I think that'll be interesting to watch as we go forward through the extended forecast too. And then once that moves through our area, that would then bring temps back down a little bit behind the rainfall. But certainly, again, looking mild for next week. And that is the big story in our forecast going forward for right now. Now, an interesting fact about today too, not totally weather related, but today when we're looking at the sunset, it is 6:01 this evening. This is actually our first post 6 o'clock sunset, not only just for the rest of the month or the rest of the season, but actually all the way until this fall. November 1st is when we'll see the sunset before 6 o'clock again. It's actually kind of interesting this fall. So the time change when daylight saving time ends, That's actually on, again, November 1st, but really it's actually Halloween night. So Halloween is on a Saturday this year. Children will be out trick-or-treating Saturday evening, and then they'll actually get an extra hour of sleep on Halloween night right after they're done trick-or-treating. So kind of interesting there with the time change for the fall. But we do have the time change where we spring forward the beginning of daylight saving time coming up in just 3.5 weeks. That'll be on March 8th. By then, so again, 3.5 weeks from now, we'll have already gained another hour and 12 minutes of daylight. And on the time change on Sunday the 8th, that'll also kick our sunset past 7 o'clock too. So we'll have a sunset of 7:33 on March 8th, and then it only, of course, gets later from there as we go throughout the rest of the spring, and then as we go into the summertime too. Before today, our sunrise was at 7:39. On the clear mornings, twilight right now is actually just before 7. But even 2 weeks from now, on the 25th, we'll have gained 40 minutes of daylight. And then, of course, again, by the time change, an hour and 12 minutes. And St. Patrick's Day, too, not entirely too far away. St. Patrick's Day just over a month away from now. And by then, we'll have gained an hour and 39 minutes of daylight, too. So some pretty impressive numbers. We are gaining about 2 minutes and 41 seconds of daylight each day as of right now. So we are gaining quite a bit each day. And this is actually close to our peak. So at the most, when we're gaining that sunlight towards the spring season, usually at most we gain about 2 minutes and 58 seconds. We pretty much just call it 3 minutes, but pretty much up to about 3 minutes of daylight per day is what we gain during the spring. So we're actually almost already at that maximum rate of change with our daylight. So some pretty impressive numbers, and just personally, it always feels like once we hit the time change in March when we spring forward, it really does feel like things start to speed up quite a bit as well. So yeah, gaining daylight very quickly as of right now. We'll have that sunset past 6:01, or rather at 6:01 this evening. Now with the cloudy skies, the twilight will end a little bit earlier this evening, but if we did have a sunny evening, then twilight would go up to about 6:30 or so. So already feeling like the days are getting longer too, and that's definitely the case as we're gaining about 2 minutes and 41 seconds each day. So just some pretty cool numbers to look at here. And again, all this really coming up a lot quicker than we think. Hard to believe that the time change where we spring forward is only about 3.5 weeks from now. That's all we have for you in the First Alert Weather Show for this morning. So be sure to tune in to First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips at noon today. She's on air on TV5 in our noon newscast, and then she'll also have another First Alert Weather Show like this on all of our same live stream channels at 2 this afternoon too. So be sure to tune in to her. She'll have another look at the forecast as well. But hope you have a great Wednesday and stay warm. And maybe you're looking forward to some of that warmth that we have coming up in the forecast too. But take care.